Hey, welcome to The Explainer. We love to put geniuses up on a pedestal, celebrating all their incredible contributions. But what if I told you there's a really dark side to some of history's biggest names? Today, we're going to dig into the historical record and uncover some seriously unsettling truths.
So let me ask you this. How well do you really know your heroes? Because it turns out the stories we usually hear, well, they tend to leave out the really juicy and sometimes pretty shocking parts.
I'm talking about people like Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, a name that's basically synonymous with musical genius.
Or how about Thomas Edison? The brilliant inventor who lit up our world?
And of course, Henry Ford, the guy who put America on wheels and totally changed manufacturing. These guys are absolute giants of history. But, as you're about to see, they all had some deeply, deeply disturbing secrets.
Okay, so let's dive right in, and we're starting with Mozart. I mean, nobody denies his musical genius, right? But what you probably don't know is that it came with, well, a really, really weird obsession. And I'm not exaggerating here. This kid was a true prodigy. We're talking composing and performing for actual kings and queens across Europe at 5 years old. His talent was it was on another level, completely out of this world. So picture that genius. The guy writing these incredibly beautiful, elegant symphonies. Now get this. That same guy was also writing letters like this one to his own cousin. And no, this wasn't some silly teenage phase. He was still writing this stuff well into his 20s. Actually, it's pretty wild. Historians have dug up more than 40 of his letters that are just full of jokes about butts and poop. Seriously, the kind of humor you'd expect from a 5-year-old, not a world-renowned composer. And it wasn't a one-off thing. This was a theme for him right through his adult life. And believe it or not, this whole obsession wasn't just for his private letters. Oh no. He actually composed a legitimate, beautiful 6-part choral piece with this as the title. I'm not kidding. You can go online right now and find classically trained singers performing this gorgeous piece of music, and its title translates to Lick Me in the, well, you can figure it out. What a completely bizarre footnote to an otherwise brilliant career, right? Okay, so from bizarre humor, things are about to take a much, much darker turn. We're moving on from weird to downright cruel. And our next subject is none other than the great Thomas Edison. So picture it. It's the late 1800s, and Edison is in the middle of this huge business battle. They called it the War of the Currents. He'd poured everything into his system, direct current, or DC. But his big rival, George Westinghouse, was pushing something called alternating current, or AC, which was actually better for sending power over long distances. Edison's reputation, his entire fortune, it was all on the line. So what does Edison do to protect his business? He launches one of the most ruthless smear campaigns you can imagine. His whole goal was to scare the public, to convince everyone that AC was this terrifying, deadly force. And the way he chose to prove it, well, it was as cruel as it was a public spectacle. To get his point across, Edison and his crew literally staged public events where they would electrocute stray animals, dogs, cats, using AC power. And it all came to this absolutely horrific climax in 1903 with the public electrocution of an elephant named Topsy. He did this in front of a crowd of 1,500 people. He even filmed it. All of this just to win a business fight. So Edison's cruelty, as horrible as it was mostly about money. But our next genius, Henry Ford, he used his incredible power for something far more sinister, to spread an ideology of pure hate, an ideology that would go on to fuel one of the darkest chapters in all of human history.
Look, we all know the name Henry Ford, and for good reason. He's an American icon, an innovator. The Model T, the assembly line, these things didn't just build cars. They literally built the modern middle class and completely changed the world. The guy became one of the wealthiest, most respected people on the entire planet.
And yet, this hero of American capitalism was also a virulent, vicious anti-Semite. I'm not talking about private whispers. His hatred was so loud, so public, and so influential that Adolf Hitler himself actually praised Ford by name in his book Mein Kampf. It's even reported that Hitler kept a big picture of Henry Ford in his office. So how did he do it? Well, he bought a newspaper, the Dearborn Independent, and used it to publish a whole series called The International Jew, The World's Problem. Those articles were then bundled into books and shipped all over the world, especially in Germany, where top Nazi officials said they were a huge influence on their thinking. And if there was any doubt about where he stood, in 1938, on his 75th birthday, Henry Ford accepted the Grand Cross of the German Eagle. That was the highest award the Nazis could give to a non-German.
You know, this disturbing pattern, a brilliant mind attached to a really dark, destructive personality, it isn't just a modern thing. Let's wind the clock way back and look at one final and truly tragic example from the ancient world.
We're talking about Alexander the Great. I mean, his name is still legendary, one of the greatest military minds ever. And he had this trusted commander, a guy named Cletus the Black. This man was a hero. He literally saved Alexander's life in the middle of a battle. A true friend. But then, years later, they're at a banquet, both of them have had way too much to drink, and they get into a stupid argument. And in a moment of pure drunken rage, Alexander grabs a javelin and kills him. He speared and killed the very same man who had saved his own life. So all of this, it brings us to a really tough question, doesn't it? You have Mozart, Edison, Ford, Alexander the Great. These people gave the world incredible gifts. Art, technology, industry. They literally shaped our world. But at the same time, they were capable of shocking cruelty, bigotry, and violence. It really makes you wonder, when a genius is also a monster, how are we supposed to tell their story? Can you separate the art from the artist? Can we celebrate what they made without conveniently forgetting the kind of people they were? It's something worth thinking about.